Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. For today's episode on narcissism, we're going to go over 25 ways covert narcissists operate, also known as the introvert or vulnerable narcissist. So let's jump in. Number one on the list of 25, they play the victim. They often portray themselves as victims, seeking sympathy from others, avoiding responsibility. They come in this way because it's a lot less work when it comes to draining their fuel. They want to get a relationship with you real quick. So what they do is they will come in the victim is the best way. They're going to be a victim from their last relationship coming over to you, branching over to you. They're just leaving somebody else and they're making up stories. Maybe they were treated bad once or twice, but they probably had 200 relationships and they treated everybody wrong. And every now and then they probably do get some sort of violent act or something that will happen to them. But that's what occurs when you deal with the situations they put themselves in, much less put you in. They come in this way, we can gain your trust and love real quick so they can get in there before the mask starts to slip, and while they're in this infatuation time, so they enjoy it, you enjoy it, and this is when they're data mining you and getting you to open up to them. When you come in as a victim and look vulnerable, it shows you're weak and you need help, you need assistance. That's what they garnish from the empath. It's also cheaper financially, and it gets you to drop your walls. So that's why they do it. Number two is their passive-aggressive behavior. They don't like to confront issues at all. But if they do it always passively in passive-aggressive ways and use tactics like sulking and acting with backhanded compliments towards you. There's always going to be a devaluation of you and a way to build them up or to keep them stabilized while you become unstable in the situation, so they can maintain power and control and they can get you to wobble or to get off balance. It just makes it very difficult being in a relationship with them, dealing with these situations. Number three is the constant seeking of validation. They need frequent reassurance about their self-worth, their existence, what they're doing, how their mask is looking. So you are their validation on how well they are performing, because that's what they are. They're in the performing arts, y'all. You are the one that has to try to figure out their needs, try to understand them, and it's very difficult and it makes you confused. And that confusion also gets you to wobble and to get off kilter. And everything that they do, every manipulation, is to get you in confusion. Because if they can get you covered in confusion, you will look to them for all your validation. 4, feeling entitled, but the covert narcissist hides this. So they will come in and they all feel entitled just as much as the overt narcissist, but they cover it up. They use subtle ways and they expect others to know what their needs are and to perform them, supply them, to pamper them, to be their servant. And that's really what you end up doing when you are in this relationship with the narcissist or situationship, because they own you, you're their property, and you are subservient to them. And that's how they've always lived their life. And with that spell they get you under, it gets you to act and operate that way when they perform all these different manipulations on you. Number 5 is chronic self-doubt. So they often struggle with insecurities. They have low self-esteem issues. They downplay their achievements, but also expect recognition. So they act covert with this victimhood. They downplay a lot of their achievements, but they know that they're achievements that should garner praise. Like if they just got a degree and they worked really hard for it, they might downplay it, knowing that people are gonna be like, no, that's a great thing. You did great things. And they love that. And that's how they play, getting that validation and that admiration, adoration, and that praise and that worship. So they play it in the reverse of, say, an overt narcissist. But they're doing the same thing. They're garnering the same fuel, just in a different way, because most of these are antisocial. But they truly have chronic self-doubt. So this is how they validate themselves on also things that they have doubt about. Emotional manipulation. So they use other people's emotions to manipulate, gain power and control over them. So they'll take and suck your energy off of you, your fuel. They'll take that fuel and run it through their destructive factory, and then they seduce people out there with it. and they control you with it. They make you feel guilty. The guilt is typically because you didn't meet some of their needs, some need that they had that they'll just make up. And because you grew up in these families and you were put down a lot, and they put an inferiority complex on you based on what you supposedly couldn't do when they were outright working against you. See, everybody in your life's been working against you until you woke up and walked away from them all. Number 7, the silent treatment. Of course, we all know this one. They will retreat, pull back emotionally, and play this silent treatment to punish you. They will leave you uncertain, confused, and in bewilderment. A spell has the ability to draw you down to an enormous amount of codependency, but that's not who you typically were. It's spellbounding codependency. It's chipping away that makes you more and more codependent to them. And because you are loyal and you stayed with them too long, they emotionally drag you down to nothing. They will play this on you to get power and control over you and to teach you a lesson. 8 is victim blaming. A lot of times they will blame you for the things they do. We call it projection. They deflect and criticize you. They blame shift you for the problems they are creating and making themselves seem blameless. They are never at fault, never at all. Number 9, they feign humility. So they might look very modest and very humble, but it's all just to garner praise and worship from that. The ability for you to look like they could never be an issue. Now, they're not going to act like this to you. They will do it in the very beginning during love bomb phase and every love bomb phase. This is how they get back in with you. But out and about, this is how people will see them. When they have your good 105 grade fuel, racing fuel, they are able to perform great out there for the circus. That's what they don't want you to know, that you're the one holding all the power and control, but you don't know it. And chances are you were the strongest individual in your whole family unit, and that's why they got to knock you down from birth. But they're grandiose inside, and you'll see it in subtle ways, but they can't be humble. But they do it to get praise. People will always talk about them being so kind, and they're do-gooder, or their communal narcissism is with all these people as well. 10 is going to be withholding affection. They can emotionally withdraw. They can withhold affection, tension to punish you, to get control over you. That's why a lot of times they will silent treatment you forever. They'll wait it out depending on what your use is to them. They're just manipulators. When we call them manipulators, that's exactly what they are, and they're always going to be that. 11 is they create drama. The covert narcissist always creates drama, to stir up drama, to create crisis, to draw attention away from them, to put it on other people, and then maintain control and draw attention. It's going to stir up drama and create crisis. And that's what they do. They'll take something that is minute and very small, petty. They'll take petty things and they'll almost get people fired over it at a workplace. They will have a way of manipulating, maneuvering, and through that they can play the victim and get lots of supply and attention and admiration by looking like somehow they're the hero. And the person that really was the victim is the one that looks like the enemy. But eventually, over time, people always find them out, depending on the length of time that people are around them, whether working with them or dating them or whatever. 12, they have low-grade aggression. So they have low-key, low-grade aggression. In a lot of ways, you'll see it's subtle, just like everything else the covert narcissist does. It's this hostility, it's backhanded compliments, and any way that they give any validation or compliments, they're going to be backhanded in some sort of way. And it's going to be like they're going to be going into the next one, number 13, they're envious of others. And that's the deal. So they have aggression and they're envious, they're jealous. So all of these things run hand in hand. And the covert narcissist, the longer you get to know them or see them operating around you, you will find that they're envious of others. They don't like the success of others. They don't like happiness because they can't, they don't understand it, and they can't feel happiness. Because when you're evil, you have no ability to understand goodness or anything that comes along with goodness. So they rarely express this because they're covert, and they really keep to that. But you'll see subtle ways of this operating in their actions. You always look at actions, never words. Words are cheap, y'all. Idealization and devaluation. A lot of times they'll make friends. They'll have love partners. Of course, we know that they love bomb. That's idolization. Devaluation is when you're going into being discarded, being broke down, destroyed, put power and control over you, that yoke of bondage. They will initially idolize them. They will pump them up and they will like them and feel good about it and later devalue them because they just don't meet their expectations. And that's going to happen in any friendship relationship with a narcissist. There's nobody they're loyal to except that mask. 15, feigning illness. They may frequently use physical, mental health issues, a way to gain attention, manipulation, to get attention and manipulate others into like sympathy and care for them. But if you go and get sick, they ain't giving you nothing, not a moment of their time. They're out of there. And it's not cliche, y'all. The narcissist, the covert narcissist, when you're sick, they're gone. They're like in somebody else's bed, y'all. 16, withholding information. They always lack giving you the pertinent information you need in a conversation or to understand what the hell is going on that's causing all this mess, whatever mess it is. And they like to do this to keep confusion in your life. The more vulnerable they're going to be. And they just can't have that. And a covert narcissist won't tell you nothing. And what you do get is going to be a lie. It's going to be pieces of other people's stories, or it's going to be an omission of the truth. You lie by omission, right? So it's deliberately done to withhold information and then also get power and control, maintain the power and control over you. If you never get the truth, if you always get the lie and you're still sticking around the lie and you're feeding it fuel, they know what a covenant and a contract is. They also know that you're going to reap some of that negative harvest that they're out there pulling from you and destroying others with, or subduing them or seducing them, because you're connected to it, because you're fueling it. You're the gas pump for the car that's out there destroying people and run them over. 17, perfectionism. So they always demand perfection from others and they think they're perfect. They always look for perfection in their love partner. And in the very beginning of love bomb phase, they look at you as being perfect as well. But very quickly you get devalued and discarded because nobody's perfect. And you just can't hold up to their standard because they're always perfect. Even when they're wrong, they're not wrong. 18, exaggerating personal struggles. So this is huge. The covert narcissist exaggerates their struggles, setbacks to gain sympathy. They'll always come in and tell you about how all these victimhood stories and through childhood, how they were used and abused and they were mistreated and they don't want to take any responsibility for anything. So a lot of times they will, bring these things up sometimes. If you come at them with something that's in reality, they'll try to draw you back into their fantasy with manipulations like this to tell you about their personal struggles so you will give them more sympathy and forget all about whatever the heck the conversation was initially. They play off your empathy, remember? Number 19, they're constantly comparing themselves with others. So they will sabotage you, any kind of good things that are occurring in your life, any degrees, any conferences, anything that's going to get you ahead and get you to the next level, an advancement in anything. They stop all advancement. They make you cold as ice where you can't move, you're frozen. And then they bring you back, all the way back until you can't do anything without their help and validation. They do this because they compare you to them. They compare everybody that they know to them. Anybody that they know that they're connected to, they're comparing themselves with. And they're in competition with all of them. So if it's up to them, they're going to give you the worst advice when it's to get ahead, to do something right. If you like to do something and they know it's going to bring you some sort of praise or something from others, they're going to tell you that they don't like that. If you need to eat a food high in protein, they're going to tell you that you need to eat food high in fat. And so you can't, it's terrible when the empath continues to go back to the narcissist and try to get the truth out of them. Like ask them questions. You're wasting your time, y'all. You ought to know better. I know I've done it too. So we all have done it, but quit doing that because they're just laughing behind the scenes because there's nothing truthful in them. And you keep going back, asking them for the truth. You got to seek your own truth and your own validation, your own closure. 20 is guilt tripping. They'll manipulate others by making them feel guilty for not meeting their emotional needs. So when you don't do what they expect without them even telling you, when you're doing everything else and you get kind of feeling like, you're absolutely being used and you're giving so much, you're pouring your heart out to them and you just get nothing with this indifference. And then they will guilt trip you on top of that just to knock you down to the ground worse. They'll make you sick, y'all. That's why you want to stay away from the covert or any narcissist. 21, emotionally blackmail. The covert narcissist often uses emotional blackmail, leveraging their emotional state of control, using emotional blackmail to control the emotional state of others' behaviors. that's like saying you don't treat me right and making you feel bad. It kind of goes with the guilt tripping. So they get you in this sunken place. You're already in a sunken place. And then they hit you with guilt tripping and emotional blackmail. And it makes you then feel worse and want to give more. You're going to give more. It's almost like this, like you feel like a normal person be like, when you've, been treated so bad, you're like, I ain't doing no more else for this person. But then they come in with another tactic, which gets to your heart even deeper. And when you get into guilt tripping and emotional blackmail, this is where you think you got nothing left for this individual. Then they'll draw down and hit you with guilt tripping and emotional blackmail and things like that. So then you feel really bad again and you pour your heart out again, only for them to leave you and your whole core is empty. That's where they suck the bottom level of your soul out when they leave. It's from these things. 22, self-sabotage, man. They will self-sabotage anything. So they don't get ahead and they don't want you to get ahead. It's almost like a paradox, but especially when you're supposed to be in a partnership with this individual, you're supposed to be getting ahead together. They don't look at it like that. Their success is only for them. It's not for anybody else, not for their love partner, not for their family, nobody, just them. But they don't really have much success. Everything successful with a narcissist is usually short-lived. And they make so many bad decisions and do so many illegal things and bad things and maltreatment of others that the stuff comes back, y'all. So they will even sabotage their own successes to avoid the failure that may potentially come along with it. They're so in fear and have no courage. And that's how they got where they got in the first place. So they will also, they evade relationships at some point because they know it's going to be a failure because they can't love. And when you can't love, eventually someone's going to find you out. And the truth will set you free. 23, indecisiveness. They're often indecisive and display indecision because they're always lying, cheating, and stealing. Somebody like that's always got to be indecisive because they're always manipulating and they're scheming on you. So they're going to do this to create confusion, again, to allow them to maintain control over you in these situations and continuing situations. You get wore out. That's what the narcissist, they wear you out, then they place all the blame on you, and then they break up with you, and then they smear you. Meanwhile, they take your energy and your fuel and all your goods doing it. It's almost like you're a target from the beginning to the end. You get nothing out of it. 24 is lack of empathy. We all know they struggle with this one. They struggle with it. That's like an understatement. They don't have none. They're cold as a snake, as a slithering lizard in the grass, waiting to ensnare you. There's nothing to say about that. 25 is spiritual or intellectual superiority. They think they're more spiritually savvy than you are, and they don't even have a spirit man or an inside voice or any of the fruits of the spirit. But they'll try to display this and manipulate others, gain admiration through it all and control. A lot of times they like to show intellectual superiority. And to some degree, they can't really do that. What they typically do is it's all bull. It's like stuff they've memorized out of a book or something. And if you go too deep with them, just off the cuff, if you really know what you're talking about, you'll find they don't know a damn thing. They're going in with some novice stuff that they memorized. Anyway, this is how the narcissist works. 25 ways and tactics that they maneuver and move through and in each and every day, whether you know it or not. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Stay away from the Covert Narcissist. Till next time. Soldier, peace, we out.